All right. Good morning. Hope everybody is doing well today. Um, mm, I'm just going to set something up here, so just give me a second. All right. So we're just going to kind of go with that. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, send me a little message just so that I can see if it's in the comments and coming through for me. All right. So, hope everybody had a good weekend. Last time that I talked on here, we talked a little bit about goal-directed behavior and taking aim and sort of what that would mean. Now, what I wanted to do today is actually kind of get into the analogy of the archer a little bit and what that really entails. So with the archer, we talked about first of all taking aim, and that was a rather broad topic. But with the archer, we needed to kind of ready ourselves. We needed to stand up tall, create a base of support, be strong through our core, be strong enough to draw the bow back and take aim, have the target in our sights, and kind of release the arrow. So getting into the analogy a little bit further, the analogy was actually credited to a guy by the name of Thomas Aquinas. Now, he was an Italian Catholic philosopher and theologian from like the 1200s. And we'll just start with one of the quotes that, so I'm just going to read this. Goal-directed behavior is observed in all bodies obeying natural laws, even when they lack awareness. But nothing lacking awareness can tend to a goal except it be directed by someone with awareness and understanding. The arrow, for example, requires an archer. Everything in nature, therefore, is directed to its goal by someone with understanding, and this we call God. So what he's saying is the only reason someone lacks awareness, that would be the arrow, can participate in a goal-oriented behavior or perform a purpose is if something with awareness, that would be the archer, directs it. So something has to aim that arrow in order for it to carry forward towards its goal. In the same way, something lacking awareness can only perform a purpose if something with awareness directs it. All right. Now, he used this as an argument for the existence of God, but that's not what I want to get into. What I want to get into is this idea of awareness, and more specifically, self-awareness, and how important that is when it comes to achieving your goals and successful behaviors. What we really need to do is kind of be tuned into ourselves. So we're going to talk about the archer and how it plays a role in our goal-directed behavior. All right. So the first thing that the archer needs to do is he needs to stand up tall, as I mentioned earlier. He needs a good base of support, a strong base of support, a strong foundation to operate from. So you have to create this foundation for yourself in order to be successful. So this is an interesting example because we quite often go out and kind of challenge ourselves with our goals without actually being ready to take them on. And one thing I've found is with all of my clients is I'll ask them something very simple and kind of rather silly. I actually ask them if they make their bed in the morning. And I do that for two reasons. First of all, it means you're going to wake up a little bit earlier. And if you make your bed kind of first thing in the morning, it's going to prevent you from actually getting back into it, right? It's going to prevent you from just deciding to crawl back under the covers where it's nice and warm and comfortable. But the second thing is there's actually a little piece of psychology that happens where already at the start of your day, you've actually already accomplished something for the day. And from that one small change, we can actually build a lot of momentum going forward throughout your day. So that is sort of one example of how to create a bit of a foundation for yourself. You want to be able to give yourself something to work from so that you can build momentum throughout the day, the week, and the month, and eventually hit your targets. The other thing we talked about was being strong through the core. All right. So the archer needs to be strong in the core to transfer energy from one thing to another. Right. So when he pulls back on that bow, he doesn't just fall over. Now, your core, now in physiology, one of the areas that I work quite a bit in, without some sort of without your core muscles, they're designed to stabilize your spine and transfer energy. So without it, your spine ends up becoming a bit of a loose noodle, and that's something we want to avoid. Now, the core is basically built up, generally speaking, your glutes anchor your spine at the bottom of your core. You've got your abdominals and some of the back muscles that kind of stabilize it. And then you've got your lats that kind of anchor your core at the top of your spine. So you've got your two anchors at the top, and that creates a system that you can transfer energy through from basically your feet to your hands and vice versa. Okay. And without that, we're just not going to be as successful. So you're not going to be able to pull that bow back. You're not going to be able to hold your aim as strong as you would like to. Now, when it comes to your goal-directed behavior, your core becomes the things around you that will help make you successful. So think of these as like core competencies. If you've got a weight loss goal, you might think about having nutritious food available to you. You might think about meal prep. These are sort of the core competencies around your goal that you're going to need in order to be successful towards that goal. Okay. Now, the next piece of that is once we have a solid foundation to work from, once we have some core competencies in place, we've got something that we can actually start to work with in order to be successful. Now, the next piece is going to be having the target in sight. So you want to have an idea of what a successful day would look like, a successful week, and eventually a successful month. All right. So having the foresight to look into the future enough where you'll be able to see the obstacles that might come up and give yourself the tools to overcome those obstacles. So for example, again, we'll use this sort of idea of a weight loss goal. If your goal is to maybe lose 10 pounds, then your foundation may be to get up a little bit early. That gives you the opportunity to do meal prep. So that would be your core competencies. And then realizing what obstacles might be ahead of you would be to pack your lunch. And then if, say, you go to work or you're going throughout your day and some friends call you or some colleagues and they want to go out to a restaurant, do you order from the restaurant or do you take your meals with you? And those sort of decision makings are going to dictate how successful you are. All right. So you want to have your goal in sight. You want to have these behaviors start to become habits. So you don't even have to think about doing them. You're just going to take them with you. The next thing we're going to talk about here is actually raising and drawing the bow back. Right. So this is where we're getting ready to take action. And we kind of got into that on the last little piece here, where we're taking our meals with us or whatever it is. We're starting to take action towards our goals. All right. Maybe it's creating, this is where you're going to create a schedule as well. So what times are you going to work out at? What are you going to do for your meal prep? If you're looking at more career-oriented goals or financial goals, it might be having a mentor to work from or somebody to talk to, kind of throw some ideas off of as well. So you're going to raise the bow, draw the arrow back, and then take action. And this is where people start to get a little bit confused with this analogy, because once we release the arrow, we assume that it just takes a straightforward path to our target, and we essentially become the arrow. But what I want you to understand is we're not the arrow, we're the archer, right? Now, you may have seen there's that internet graphic of it's like a picture of success, and it says what people think is success, and it's a straight line, and what success actually looks like, and it's this very confusing path of complete chaos. And this is where this analogy kind of breaks down, because we're not going to take a straightforward path towards our target like the arrow does. The arrow is your intentions. The arrow is your goal-directed behaviors to make you successful, but the actual path you're going to take is not going to be nearly as straight. Now, when you think of an arrow, it actually doesn't take a straight path to its target either. So the arrow is acted upon by things like gravity. There's wind resistance, air resistance, that kind of stuff that actually knocks it off course a little bit and can cause you to actually miss the target. However, if you use a sight finder or something like that, it'll actually adjust the point of the arrow to be just off the target, just enough so that when you do release it, it's going to take into account some of these variables and actually aim the arrow towards the target by just moving it off a little bit, so that when these things do come up, we still hit the target. So the point of that is we can only really control the setup and the things to make us successful to increase our likelihood of success, right? So we don't want to get too caught up on the actual path of the arrow. What we really want to focus in are the foundation that you build to work off of. So being organized and understanding. So yeah, having a foundation to work from, having that strong core so that the things around you will help support your goal, that you can work off your foundation to move forward. And then taking intensious behavior forward so that we actually have some sort of goal-oriented behavior moving you forward towards the goals that you're looking to accomplish. And that's all I have to say about the archer analogy. Tomorrow, when we get going, I'm going to talk about some of the tools that you can actually use to create a successful path and to create some successful goals, and really working on creating strong habits that'll make you successful. All right. So I hope everybody has a good day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks.